Here we go,
I
folks.
think we
Welcome to
are.
the Sedona Connection as we're working through all of our bugs. Some of you have been texting me in. Sounds like, the technical gremlins are out tonight or who knows what's going on. But we're ready to go. Okay, we got 2 hours for the program, folks. Okay, here's what I want to say. I said tonight I might be making a major, huge announcement. Well, no, I won't be able to do that because I'm not allowed. That information did not come through. But I continue to get some very good reports that are coming from my sources internationally and also the sources in Reno, where all the big money stuff is. All I can say is that stuff is moving along. I am really at that point. I need to be a little more quiet than what I would like to be in a normal basis. So, with that, folks, that's all I'm going to do. That I'm going to talk about that. But tonight, okay, all right, it says high CPU usage detected on my computer. You may experience performance issues. I sure hope not. Let me do this. I'm going to hold on for just one more time. I noticed there seems to be a little bit of a delay. I'm going to drop this down just a little bit and see if that's going to work a little bit better there. Okay. That, that might be now because I just noticed that my video was not in conjunction with my audio on the camera as I'm watching this. So with that, what's going on in the presidential election? I had said that uh, I wasn't really going to get too much involved in the presidential election because the bottom line was that the presidential election, who was going to win, really was not going to make that much difference on the currency exchanges. Well, but I've also been saying for a long time, the primary reason for the delays is because there's been cabal interference. There are people out there, very, very powerful people that just plain flat out do not want this to happen. Why? Because it's the end of their power. It's the end of their control. It's the end of their domination over us as a human race. Well, a lot of that was being taken care of. But here's the word that I got on Monday that came from two different sources that are very credible. They basically said they are trying to do everything they can to get the first round money pushed out, moved out before the election next week. They are very, very concerned that if Hillary gets elected, that she will attempt to shut this whole thing down. She will use her power, her influence, her threats, everything that is possible to shut this whole thing down. So when I said earlier it didn't really matter, the reason that I said that is because through my years of experience in politics, the bottom line is the president of the United States is a puppet. It's a puppet to the money power controllers of what we call the cabal. It's been that way. Every president since Nixon has been that way, including Nixon. President Carter, it was kind of hard to really to say, but President Carter didn't really play ball very well, and they obviously wanted him gone. And that's why, his last 6 months was such a disaster for him when he was in office. I think himself personally, he's probably been one of the best former presidents as far as integrity that we've ever had. But it's power and control. And I've told you that in Congress, there's 550 members of Congress, but there's only 5 members of Congress that run the show. They are gatekeepers. Everything has to go through them. So if those 5 don't approve, it doesn't go anywhere. Nothing changes. So in essence, yes, you can carry some influence, but the stuff that really counts, the stuff that's going to affect the cabal, their power, their control, they'll make sure that those 5 stop it in a heartbeat. And if they don't, they'll get rid of them. We saw that happen 2 years ago when the sitting majority leader in the House of Representatives lost a primary election to someone in his own party in his district. That is extremely rare. Now, I forgot the individual's name, but the bottom line was they got rid of him because he was not playing ball. And they said, "You're done. You're gone." They got rid of him. And we've seen the process come through. We've seen the recent speaker, John Boehner, basically was told to resign because in essence he wasn't playing ball the way that they wanted him to. And now we're seeing who knows, what's happening with Ryan. Paul, I'm going blank on his first name. Ryan, who's the current Speaker of the House.
Ryan?
Ryan, who's the
All
current
right.
Speaker of the House. They're very, very powerful. And if they don't play ball, the cabal will get rid of them. We have known for many years that the Bushes and the Clintons are primary cabal people. They are appointed by them, put in by them, and they are designed to be there by them. Now, some of you may think that Obama was this really nice guy and that he basically wasn't under their control. Wrong, wrong, Wrong. What a lot of people don't know. Now, you've heard me talk about what is called all this money. Its design and its intention is to honor the original Bretton Woods Agreement of 1948. When they established and set up that whole system, the cabal came in and hijacked the whole system and took power and control of it, and it made them even more powerful. Then they tried to implement what was called the Hilton Green Memorial Agreement between President Kennedy and President Sukarno of Indonesia. President Kennedy was assassinated. Sukarno basically ended up having a one-year civil war that was prompted and inspired and led by the CIA to overthrow him. He was overthrown by one of his generals in a military coup, and Sukarno basically had to live the rest of his life in house arrest. But here's what a lot of people don't know, and you don't see this talked about in the public, and the media won't talk about it. Remember that President Barack Obama, when he was in high school, his name was Barry Sotelo, because Sotelo was his stepfather after his birth father had died. Well, guess who Sotelo was? Sotelo was the right-hand man to the general that overthrew Sukarno. Sotelo helped in the overthrow of Sukarno, and it was run by the CIA. Sotelo was a CIA man, an insider. So was his mother, and he was raised under CIA influence. And so Obama has basically been a CIA puppet from the time that he was a young boy. And that's public information, folks. You can go and you can check that. So you see every single president has been dominated and controlled by the cabal, keeping us in oppression, keeping us in slavery. We think that we have a democracy, and we really don't. Even President Carter has come out and said that we no longer have a democracy in America. We have an oligarchy. We are a country that is run by the corporations, for their profits at the expense of the people. And the big, powerful corporations are the ones that really run the show. There is the study that was done by Harvard University that will show you at the very, very top of the pyramid of the corporations, there's only about 20 to 25 corporations that basically run and control the world's commerce because they dominate everything that is underneath them. You have companies and you have subsidiary companies that go all the way down, and that these corporations are the ones that are run by power and control. And you will find most of those corporate CEOs are on each other's boards. They're on the boards of the banks, the strong and powerful banks. They're on the boards of each other's companies. So they are all intertwined with each other, running what is called basically the economy of this world at their power, their profits at our expense. And now here we have once we have a political election here in the United States, that the people are beginning to wake up to what's really going on. And we are in a position where they have a choice. They clearly have a choice. Now, I'm not here to trumpet Donald Trump. He's got some really personal issues, and he's got a huge ego. But the bottom line is we have to acknowledge and recognize that Donald Trump is standing up to the establishment. He's standing up to the cabal. He is standing up to the powerful elite. And he's the one that is basically here saying for the common person, the little guy. And the people are beginning to wake up to that. And what we also have is a woman in Hillary Clinton who's probably as corrupt as we could ever have. There's no doubt that she is there for herself, for her power, for her corruption, and she is a puppet to the cabal because she's a part of the cabal system. You can get caught up into the personality differences between the two. You can say, there's no way I can vote for a Donald Trump with everything that he has done. And others could turn around and say, there's no way I could vote for Hillary Clinton as corrupt as she is. Folks, I'm not going to get here into the pros and cons of Hillary Clinton. I am going to talk about how this relates to you and me and the currency exchanges, and how we have the ability to set into motion and be in trailblazers to help really shift and change this world. Of breaking the back of the cabal, of having so much money that their money becomes ineffectual. To me, that is a higher priority than personal issues around which candidate you like and you don't like. If you're going to get caught up into a candidate because of personality issues, then welcome to the world of power and control, and welcome to the world to the cabal controlling us, because that's what it is. That is what they want you to do. Have you noticed in this election, all they do is attack Trump on his personal issues, and he rarely gets to talk about issues. He rarely gets to talk about his plan. He rarely gets to talk about what is important, and the media won't cover that. And you notice they don't do much on attacking Hillary with all of her very, very deep personal issues. The mainstream media won't touch it. Well, we're starting to see a shift and a change in that, is what we're doing. Now, there's a lot of people that have been saying, well, the elections are going to get canceled and we won't even get to next week. I'm going to tell you something, folks. The only people that can stop the presidential election is the U.S. Supreme Court. Obama has absolutely no power, no control over stopping the presidential election. The federal government has nothing to do with running elections. All elections are run by state and local governments. Each state has the right to decide how they conduct their elections, what are the policies, what are the procedures, and what are the logistics, what type of equipment do they use, how do they count their votes. Every state has that right, and in most states, it's at the county level. It's what is called the county auditor, or the county elections official, is the one who physically conducts the election. The state determines at the state level how their ballots are designed, how the voting takes place, whether or not they use machines, whether or not they use computers, whether or not they have a paper traceable ballot. Every state can be different. I can tell you right now, yes, the Supreme Court could step in and say, folks, you're going to have an election on November 2nd, but we're going to set aside the presidential race and your vote isn't going to count. They could do that, but they're going to have to do that before November 2nd. Or they could do it if a court case comes up after the election and they throw the results of the presidential election out. That is a possibility. But folks, there's going to be an election on November 2nd. There are millions and millions of people in America who have already voted. I'm one of those because, see, I vote by mail. I've already filled out my ballot. I've already sent it in. Some states allow you what is called early voting. You can go into the county auditor's office or a set-up place to vote early if you want to. There are some states like my home state of Washington that is 100% vote by mail. So you can't, and also what you have is the presidential election is only one item that's on the ballot. You can't throw out everything else. You can't throw out the congressional races, the Senate races, the governor's races, the statewide races, the state legislative races, your local races, your initiatives, and all your local stuff, and all these items that are on the ballot. You can't throw all that out because that is a state's right and initiative to still carry that out. So there's still going to be an election on Tuesday. The question is in the next 6 days, Wednesday to next Tuesday, is the U.S. Supreme Court going to step in and throw it out? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to. I think we're going to go through, because see what they are doing, they're denying the right of the people to make a free choice. They're denying our constitutional right to exercise our choice of judgment. And we have the right, whether we want to elect a womanizer or one of the biggest, corrupt, most political politicians we've ever had in our lifetimes. That's a choice that people get to make. If you're going to focus on personality issues, you may want Hillary over Donald Trump. If you want to focus on integrity and corruption of government, hands down, it's clear, it's Donald Trump, and that's why we're seeing the shift and change. If you care about the currency exchanges, Hillary wants to shut it down. She wants to shut you and me down. Now, let me tell you the report that I got that came out of some of my sources this week. And what is my opinion? This is my opinion. If Hillary is elected as the winner of the elections on Tuesday night, she will use all of her influence and power to shut this thing down. And for those in round one, we will still move forward because it's extremely close and it's in the process of happening right now. For those in round two, it would not surprise me that we may see a delay for 6 months to a year because she will mucky up the process. Eventually, it will work itself out. But it has been very, very clear, coming from very, very top sources, she does not want this to happen. And she will do everything she can to stop it. And yes, it will, probably without a doubt, is going to delay it. Now, I'm going to share something with you that is my opinion. and what I think is going to happen in the election next week. First of all, there's pros and cons in both Trump and Clinton. Okay, from a fiscal point of view, from an experiential point of view, and from what it means for us. And some of you still may be deciding about how you're going to vote. But we need to remember the election is not a popular vote. It is decided by Electoral College. It's Electoral College that determines who will be the next president of the United States. And in some states, that's already determined because they're what are called one-party states. You go to Texas. Texas is a red state, red in and out, which means it's Republican. Hillary Clinton does not have a heartbeat of a chance in Texas. You go to my old home state, Washington, that's a blue state throughout. And Donald Trump does not have a heartbeat of a chance in my old state in Washington. And it was always disappointing because when I would vote in presidential elections, if I was voting Republican, it almost felt like in that one race, my vote really didn't matter because you know what? It didn't. In 2008, when Obama was on the ballot for the first time, Obama got 70% in Washington state in 2008. 70%. Hillary's going to win Washington state. So what it means is there are states that are already figured into the equation. And what it really comes down to for the Electoral College is 3 states. And it's all, at this late in the game, those 3 states are going to be determining the difference of who's going to put them over the top at 270 electoral votes that are needed to win the nomination. Those 3 states, Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Now, Florida and Ohio are still toss-ups. Pennsylvania is leaning to Hillary, but Trump has to win all 3. If he doesn't win all 3, almost all of the political pundits will tell you he's not going to win the Electoral College vote. Here's my prognosis, my analysis, and my prediction. Tuesday night, I think Hillary Clinton is going to win the Electoral College vote. And here's why. 2 of those 3 states do not have paper ballots to trace an election outcome. It's done totally by computers. And you better believe there are cabal hackers that can hack into those programs and can rewrite the code in the computers and can write it so deep that it's very, very hard to find it. And if the race is close, 51-49, they can flip it by just pushing a button. They can flip the results to the candidate that they want. There has been testimony, there has been hearings that did happen in 2000 when George Bush won the state of Ohio. But it never got much media attention that there was corruption. There were officials that worked for these computer companies that came in and testified, yes, there were people working for these vote companies that built the coding and into the analysis of the computers so that they could flip it as long as the election was close to the person that they wanted. And they said there was no way that they could determine the results and find that out unless after the fact that you had someone that could very quickly go in and access the computer coding because the programmers know how to erase that coding after the announcement and the official results has happened. And because they do not have paper ballots, they have no way to do a ballot by ballot recount to verify that information. There are a handful of states that they can do that, and you better believe the cabal knows that, and they control that, and they want Hillary Clinton in there. They do not want Donald Trump in office. They know that Trump does not play ball with them. They know that Trump is for the common person, for restoring what is called the common integrity of our country. And they want Hillary Clinton, and they will do whatever it takes to make sure she wins. That's why I think on election night, this election goes through, we're going to see Hillary Clinton is announced the winner. But there's other stuff that's okay. There's a blessing in disguise to her winning because she is so corrupt, and all the information is starting to come out now that her deep corruption, what she will do is totally expose the whole cabal system. Her being in that office is going to put a spotlight on her and her whole corrupt system that has the ability to expose it all. That's the blessing in disguise of Hillary Clinton winning the election. Personally, I don't think she'll make it to the inauguration. And here's why. If you've been watching on the internet, there was an individual that came out 2 days ago, Dr. Steve Psheznik. He is what is called Mr. Intelligence in the United States. He was the creator of the Delta Force. He co-wrote books with Tom Clancy. If you know the Tom Clancy series and his main character, Jack Ryan came from Dr. Psheznik. He is the real life Jack Ryan. Dr. Psheznik is a medical doctor and a psychiatrist. He is known as being one of the best people in the world at designing what is called psychological interference or psychological warfare. This man has been an inside man in intelligence here in the United States for 25 years. For 25 years, he has been a white hat working for the CIA. He has been quiet. He has been behind the scenes. He has influenced people, but he has never brought himself out into the public. Yesterday, he did it. He put out 3 short YouTube videos, and he was on InfoWars yesterday with what's the guy's name? Blanca, what's his name? Alex what? On InfoWars. He was on that program yesterday for about a half hour. And here's what he has come out and said.
Oh, you're talking about Alex Jones.
Alex Jones on InfoWars.
Alex Jones? Uh-huh. Yeah.
And that's available on YouTube as well. You could probably go in there, do Alex Jones's program, and you will see the interview that he had with Dr. Psheznik. Dr. Psheznik has said there has been a coup that is going on inside the American intelligence community that are the white hats that really believe in wanting to end the corruption. And they have said that the Clintons are as corrupt as you can get. And they have become so corrupt it's almost like they feel like they're invincible and nobody can get at them. And he says, that's not going to happen. Here's what happened. He basically led a revolt with senior FBI personnel, and they went to the FBI director Comey and they said, you open this investigation, you bring this stuff back up. If not, we're going public, and you, Mr. Comey, are going to jail. They threatened him, do it or else. He says, you know as well as we do. These people are CIA, NSA, they have everything. They are the ones that have the 500,000 emails. When the Democrats and Hillary wanted to blame all this email leaking through WikiLeaks on the Russians, he came back and said, it wasn't the Russians, it was us. They have been the ones who have been giving all of this information to Julian Assange of WikiLeaks. They have been giving him the information. They have been giving him the emails. And they have basically said, this is what he came right out and he said, this is so serious. We are in the middle of America's second revolution. He said, Hillary Clinton has pulled a coup on this country. She sold us to the Saudi Arabians and she sold us to the Chinese. And we are now conducting a counter-coup intelligence operation. But this coup is not like the old military coups where you use guns and you kill people. This one, we're using the internet. Because we have everything. We have all of the evidence that will basically put her and Bill away into prison. And he goes down and he lists all the crimes that they have committed that they have absolutely irrefutable solid evidence on. And he says, you will see what he calls the disgusting thinking that is coming from behind this person. We know about Bill Clinton's sexual escapades. We know about him making his trips over to, I think it was the Bahamas, on this plane of this billionaire that got caught for pedophile running pedophiles, and that Bill was involved in that. And the media won't talk about it if you notice that. Here's what he says. She was involved in it too. We have the goods, we have the hard information, we have the testimony. And then you come back to her assistant, Huma Abedin. She has been Hillary's assistant for 20 years. And they are now bringing out the evidence that she has high ties to terrorist operations in Saudi Arabia. She was born in the United States. She went to Saudi Arabia when she was 2 years old. She lived there till she was 18. Her mother runs a terrorist circle operation out of London for basically wanting to install Sharia law here into the United States, using Saudi Arabia billionaires' money, and it's all being filtered through Hillary. Dr. Pashesnik came right out and said, it says, we were shocked how someone of her background, with her involvement, with her family, that was still ongoing, could get a top secret security clearance. He said it was obvious somebody from the inside gave her a secret security clearance that she should have never, ever had and ever been able to be involved. And they're saying right now they are working with her to work out an arrangement to lessen the charges on her as she's going to spill the beans. He has said they are going to do everything they can to see that Hillary won't make it into office. Now that's my projection. That's my analysis. My projection and my analysis is she's going to win the election. She will be declared the president-elect, but she won't get sworn in. Before it even gets to that point, she will either be impeachment charges brought against her, or there will be other charges brought against her, both her and Bill. And Dr. Pachesnik says Obama is not off. He's not off the stuff. He's been just as involved and just as aware of this as what they are doing, and he's been covering it up. So that's some really interesting stuff that is going to go on. So how does this then come back to us? How does this then come back to decisions that we have to make? You can do whatever it is to vote for whoever you want to vote for, and I understand it's a conscious issue. But I'm going to come back and say, regardless of who gets elected, as long as the cabal is running the show, the president is just a puppet. I think it's going to be Hillary, and she will be the cabal's puppet. But the blessing in disguise, it's going to blow the lid off of everything. At some point in time, if we want to really change this world, if we want to make a difference, if we want to make a change in what we're doing, if we want to free ourselves from these centuries of financial slavery, the cabal has to be neutered. And I think there's enough collective consciousness of the people beginning to wake up that this is the process that's going to carry that out. I have said many, many times on this program in the past, I've said it in my workshops, the cabal's biggest fear are the people waking up. And sometimes to wake up, all the deep corruption has to come up to the surface. We still have probably roughly half the people in America that are still asleep to how our political system is really run. They still think we have a democracy. They still are fighting between the two candidates, and they really think that the president is the most powerful person in the world. And the president is not, because it's run by a shadow operation that runs our government. At some point in time, to make the shift, the people have to wake up to say, I don't want that anymore. I'm tired of the corruption. I'm tired of this deep corrupt system, and I want to see it change. And we are the ones that always have that opportunity, ultimately, at the ballot box. You can talk about all the influence of campaign money that you want, but a billionaire's vote counts the same as a homeless person. One person, one vote. And there's a whole lot more of us than there is of them as far as votes to put the people in that we want to be there. But to do that, we have to really wake up and say, Do we want this continuation of this deep corrupt system that is happening within our government? I was elected first to office in 1994, and that's when I really saw the shift starting to change the power of partisan politics and the deep corruption. The people in America have now come to and it's continued to grow since then. And the people are beginning to wake up that the political parties are corrupt. I think you really see the corruption of the system when you've got top people that are saying Hillary no matter what because they understand. You've now got Republican leadership that has turned their back on the nominee of the Republican people, of the people who voted Republican in the primaries, and they're turning on Donald Trump. And again, I'm not here to champion Donald Trump. It's not to me, this is not a Trump versus Clinton issue. This is an issue that has an opportunity to be a turning point in America, in our leadership to the rest of the world. We have the opportunity as American citizens who have always championed our freedom, who has always championed our democracy, who has always championed that we are a government of the people and by the people. We have the ability to send a message to the world. People count. Everyday people like you and me can change the world. When it comes to the currency issue, that's why we're being given the opportunity. As I said, they tried using governments in the 1948, and the governments were so corrupt. They tried using, a system set up through President Kennedy and Sukarno in '63, and that got hijacked. And they realized that the banking system is corrupt, the government systems are corrupt, and they can't really bring the money from the top down. But what they can do is change the financial system in this world from the bottom up, using everyday people like you and me. And that's what this is all about. I know my sources in Reno, and the word is not just for me, it's coming out from many different sources. They are doing everything they can to get all of the first round money pressed out and pushed out before the election on Tuesday, because they read the handwriting on the wall. They see what is out there. And they are very, very concerned that if Hillary gets elected, she'll try to do everything she can to shut this whole currency exchange RV down. Everything. She wants the system as it is now. And we get to have a choice in that. Even if you feel that you're in a state that maybe your vote doesn't count, like, if I was back in my home state of Washington and I was voting for Trump, Trump wouldn't matter. On that presidential election, yes, that's true. But I can still carry the energy of my thoughts. I can still carry the energy of what I care about and what I project and what I want to see happen. That is something that I can do. That is something where we can make a difference. At the end of the day, we think this is about what's happening out there, and you've heard me say this many times. Quantum physics is beginning to show us that the world that is out there is not out there. There is no out there. Everything that is out there is only a projection that is what is coming from in here, inside of us, deep within our unconscious and subconscious minds is what's really happening. And it's our thoughts and our beliefs and our projected and habitual behavior patterns that are creating everything that's happening out there. So in reality, all this corruption that we're seeing reflected back to us by American politics is only a mirror of what is collectively happening from within. And the people are beginning to wake up. They're beginning to see, if I don't want corruption out there, I have to clean up stuff within me, myself. When you begin to shift and change and create the healing that is within, at that point, you shift and change your world. Now, I've shared this really clearly in the workshops, and the people at Santa Ana, this is kind of like a little bit of a review for you of what you picked up, on Saturday. It is our thoughts that come from within that create the world that is without. And if we want to see a different world out there, then we have to change what is in here. So this is not really an election about Trump versus Clinton. It's a decision that is about me versus me. It's about me deciding what I want to do with me. It's about me deciding how I'm going to choose to view the world differently. And when you begin to clear and to heal all the judgment that you see outwardly, it begins to heal what is taking place inwardly. And when you begin to do that, your outward world will change. That's why I talk so much about this book called Disappearance of the Universe by Gary Renard. When you work on the inner healing, the outward universe that you see begins to disappear and go away. And that world isn't there anymore. At the very root of all this is something that is called duality consciousness, separation. And it's separation and duality consciousness that keeps us stuck, imprisoned into this world of poverty, war, killing, conflict, fighting, disagreement, pain, suffering, and misery. All of that is a creation of the separation that is within. And you heal that, you change that, you clear that out by being willing to go within and work on yourself. That's always, at the end of the day, that's the bottom line where all this happens. So whatever's going to happen on Tuesday night, all I know is that when I wake up on Wednesday morning, I'm going to make sure that that doesn't change me. It doesn't change how I feel about this world. It doesn't change who I am and understanding who I am. And it doesn't change what I want to do or to accomplish or who I want to help and what I'm going to be. I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be doing this. And I hope that you will still be here focused on what is our collective mission together, regardless of who you want to vote for or how you're going to view what's going to take place Tuesday night. When I said I was going to step in and talk about the election stuff, normally said, I didn't really want to go there. I thought, that's a really controversial issue because no matter what I say, I'm going to get people that are going to plaster me with emails disagreeing. But sometimes you just have to step up and say, no, this is my opinion. This is how I see it. I was intricately involved in politics for 24 years, 12 years as an elected official. I know how campaigns run. And this is what I think is going to happen because I combine my experience of elections. I combine my experience with the understanding of the cabal. I combine my experience with this whole currency exchange and knowing who wants to shut it down. And I know that the real powerful people want her in office and they will do whatever it takes to see that she'll be there. And that's why I think she's going to win the election. But at the end of the day, I think that's going to be a blessing in disguise. Because she's going to end up exposing all of it. Because the white hat people, like Dr. Pashesnik, are going to come through. Because he has backups and backups and backups. And they are ready to step in and say, enough is enough. And we're not going to let her take office. Who's going to come out of that? How they're going to do it? At the end of the day, there is a due process. And the U.S. Supreme Court will get to decide. Are they going to cancel that election? Will they allow it to go through? And then her vice presidential nominee will end up becoming president because she doesn't make it? Or they will say, no, this whole system was corrupt from the beginning, that they might bring out evidence that Hillary had basically stolen the election from Bernie Sanders in the primary, and we know that. And they may say, we're doing this over. And yes, then at that time, if there is a need for a temporary president, the Speaker of the House becomes the interim until we have a new duly elected president. There is a due process of law in America. And at the end of the day, if we as citizens exercise our responsibility collectively, we are the ones that decide what it is we want. We always ultimately get the people we vote for, good or bad. And if we don't do our work, if we only make decisions based on emotions and how we feel at the time about how somebody, whether I like this person's personality or not, then we have to live with that. If we do our work about saying what's important to me, what is the most important thing that I want, what is the difference that I weigh, do I really see that there is a problem that is in this country that needs to be fixed? At the end of the day, if I'm willing to step in and say, I see a problem, and I'm willing to forgo my own personal choices because I'm willing to step up and to do what is right because we have a serious crisis in this country to truly be who we're supposed to be as America, the shining light to the rest of the world. We need to do that. That's our calling collectively. That's our responsibility as a country collectively, is to be that beacon of hope, to be that shining light to the rest of the world. And we haven't done a very good job of that over the last 20 years. And we now have an opportunity to make a shift, to make a change. That's it. That's all I'm going to talk about on this stuff tonight. I didn't see anything go fixing on the live stream, but I know the radio program is alive and well and running. And Blanca, with that, share with me your comments and your thoughts. And folks, this
Well,
is water, okay?
oh yes, he said he got a gift in California, so I can be a witness. It's structured water,
It's a
not structured vodka.
That's right. It's a purple glass bottle that basically structures your water, and it really does make a difference. It's really good. I really need to give a plug to the guy who gave it to me, Steve Grassi. Steve, thank you very, very much. Excellent. I'm already noticing the difference. But Blanca, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, of course, most of the listeners, I think, are very thoughtful people and realize that there is just so much shift and change going on. And neither of the candidates is perfect, but neither are we. But what's really, really crystallized, I think, is what the candidates stand for and what energy they are representing. And you can listen to Trump and the people that are following him and pick up on a certain energy. And actually, when you would see the Bernie campaign, you'd feel that as well. And so people can make that discernment from themselves. Also, there is so much information being released and about what was going on with Clinton when she was in office, and so people have a chance to take a look. It takes some time, yes, but take a look and see and come up with your own conclusions about that. And yes, it's crystallized that it's bigger, as you observed, Dave, that it's bigger than just the candidates themselves. And it's even bigger than a shift in our own country, although that's a very important manifestation. Actually, it boils down to the shift within ourselves. And I think all of us on the program and participating in this possible currency exchange have had to go through certain shifts. Maybe we went into it selfishly, and it was about, boy, I'm going to get a lot of money and pay my bills and all that, which is, I think, is still a good thing. But then it started to shift in terms of saying, wait a minute, I will now be empowered to make some very big changes for my brothers and sisters. And I'm going to be able to fund some very important projects for humanity. And so our own point of view started expanding, where it was not just about us and our benefit, but it was about the benefit for the larger human community. So I think that this election coming at this time is just a manifestation that we're producing for ourselves to look at an exterior play, so to speak, of what's happening inside. Now, I'm paying attention, just like you, Dave, to everything that's being said. There's a lot of people coming out, white hats, like the doctor. Are you pronouncing it Pachesnik?
Yeah. Let me.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll spell it
That
for you,
people.
folks. His last name is
Yeah.
spelled Pieczzenik. Pachesnik, and that's how it was.
Right.
That's how it was pronounced. On Alex's Infowars
InfoWars.
program.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of white hats that are coming out now and starting to tell Americans the truth about what's going on in our government. Now, we can start to also recognize that our government is very different than our country, and our government is very different than the people we call Americans. And actually, we're going to have to start learning that our government is just a corporation doing a job, basically like contractors. And what do we do if we hire a contractor that is corrupt, not doing a job? We fire them, don't we?
Sure.
Well, that's as simple as it is. We've been brainwashed to think that government is something else or something as hallowed as our country. It is not. So let's grow up and take a look at what's really happening and start taking responsibility for what's going on there and cleaning house. So we can vote. I encourage you as well as Dave to vote your conscience, vote thoughtfully, and what you think is going to be the energy that you're going to back up. Now, something that you said, Dave, you said if the election was close, that the cabal could, of course, steal the elections by affecting the votes in Pennsylvania, Florida, and Ohio. There are certain pundits that don't think it's going to be close, so that may make a difference as well. Like
And the
quantum
key in that,
physics
though,
says, it's a
Blanca,
moment
is
by moment creation.
the key on that is those
It's a
three
moment by
individual
moment. Okay.
states. It's those three individual states. That's really the election is coming down to three states, and that's it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But go ahead.
Right? So it's going to be interesting to see as some of this information is coming out, as people are waking up, as we are waking up. Now, Dave has talked about a concept called the collective consciousness, and many of the teachings will talk about this. Wingmakers really talks about this. And collective consciousness is what are we as humanity feeding into the collective consciousness. So as more and more of us are waking up, being informed, learning about conscious creation as opposed to passive victimhoods, that is informing the collective conscious, and that makes a difference. It's our creation after all. So I agree with Dave's observation about that.
Great. You always give such great insight and such great follow-up comments. You do a wonderful job, and as always, I'm very, very appreciative of what you do. And I'm looking forward to seeing you and Alan in Orlando coming up a week from Saturday. So, yeah. Okay.
That's
You know,
going to be grand.
you know what, Blanca? Uh, I want to do this tonight. I think I'm ready to just say we're not going to take callers tonight. This is a very controversial issue. I want you to think a lot about what I said. It's not so
Yes.
much about what candidate to vote for, about to focus on what is called the higher good to come out of this and how it affects us and what we can do. Because I think it's back to what Dr. Pachesnik says. We are in the midst of our second revolution here in America. And to take this very seriously. And folks, I want to encourage you as I'm going to go ahead and basically close down early tonight. And I want to encourage you to take the time to stop, to reflect, and go within and say, what is it that I can do? How can I make a difference? How can I be someone that can help create this change for a higher purpose and a higher calling? And it's not about debating who's right or wrong in the politics. It's not about debating which candidate is going to be the better candidate. It's about us being able to step up as people of integrity and taking responsibility as an American, as a citizen here in this country, to do the right thing to help create the shift and change. So with that, folks, I'm going to say, I'm going to go ahead and, Blanca, I think I'm going to close the program down tonight. So any last comments that you want to make?
All right.
Okay.
Well, I also encourage our wonderful listeners to give it heart-to-heart thought and bless them all. And I know together we can create the reality that needs to be created.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you very much, folks. I will see you next week.